Today in the shop we have a 1970 Cutlass Oldsmobile. It's a pretty clean car. It's a convertible 1970. Looks like it has some 18-inch or maybe some, oh, those are probably 18-inch, like IROC wheels. So the customer brought it to us because it's leaking a ton of oil, and I guess he's had problems with the rib main still leaking for a while. This style of motor has a rope seal in it, which is a pain in the butt. So they've had the motor out like 4 times, so, or 3 times. I think it's 3 times. What I'm going to do initially is just investigate the PVC system, which is the positive crankcase ventilation, to make sure that there's nothing plugged. We don't need to go in the motor if we don't have to. So, but if it does leak and it's decided that that's the root cause of the problem, then the corrective action will have to be basically drop the pan, we'll raise the motor up, drop the pan, try to get the pan out, and then take the bearing cap off and pull the seal out, at least from the bottom, pull the top out, and then we would have to loosen all the main caps, drop the crank about 1/8 of an inch, and then once that's done, we can install a new rope seal, and then kind of go from there. So it's most of the time you have to pull the motor out and actually take it out and put it on an engine stand, turn it upside down, pull the crank out, the crankshaft out of the car.
Oh, I knew how hard it was to get out of that other car.
Yeah, so that is like basically rebuilding a motor, which is super expensive. So we're gonna try to avoid all that, and but also too, you don't want a leaky ass car. So, but yeah,
the oil's leaking, or what's leaking?
The oil is leaking out from between basically the oil pan, where there's a crankshaft that goes through. It's kind of a feed through, and there's a seal that goes around it, and the oil is constantly splashing in there. You know, when your car's running. Well, when you're driving the car, there's what's called blow by. So when the piston goes to compress the air and fuel, there's a little bit of gas that leaks past the rings, and also during the combustion process, some gas leaks past the rings. Well, cumulatively between all the cylinders, it actually starts to pressurize the crankcase. Well, it has to go somewhere, right? So typically, it goes through your PVC system, which goes back into the intake, into the back into the combustion chamber. And on some systems that vent to atmosphere, like this here, then it just vents to the atmosphere, and you'll kind of see some steam come out sometimes. But let's say if that's not working properly, it'll actually build up pressure in the motor, and it'll blow out.
Find wherever it can.
Yeah, the weakest link.
Yeah.
So that's what it's doing, and it may not be pressurizing the system, but if there's not adequate ventilation, then it can cause issues. All right, so I just pulled out this breather here. I'm gonna start the car, and I want to see how much vacuum it's actually pulling. All right, starting it.
Okay.
Watch your fingers. The job of the PVC is to regulate. Shut up, quiet. It's a controlled leak, but the leak has to be large enough so that it'll evacuate the crankcase and not allow it to build up pressure. So the way this is set up is not appropriate. So what we're going to do, before we take the engine apart. Because if this is not fixed, when you actually go to, doesn't matter if you put a new rope seal in it, it's gonna do the same thing. It's just gonna leak. So it's not gonna do its job. I can't. It's already a bad design to begin with. So what I'm going to do is reconfigure this, and then we'll test drive it and see. I hate to take everything apart. We don't have to. That would suck. So let's make sure that this is functioning properly before we start spending a ton of money.
Yeah.
All right, so I just I pulled this PVC out, put a open element breather in it, and then I took out the PVC valve on the driver's side and just used real quick a -6 fitting to this open element breather. So if this doesn't work, then we know the seal's bad, the rear main seal for sure. What speed did he say? Like, he said freeway speed, so assuming 65. So that didn't work. So that's what we got. So I'll pull the cap off real fast and then I'll let the car up. All right, so the crankshaft is is lowered by about, I'd say, 1/8 inch or so. You kind of see here, about 1/8 inch. Now, as I was lowering the crankshaft, I was looking at these little lines that were on the journal right there, and I recall yesterday when I pulled the seal out, the seal was facing this way, which is the way it's supposed to go. However, this sealing surface here is right in line with those grooves. So if you were to put this around here like this and put it back in, like I'm going to attempt to do, like that, if I put some light on it, you can see, put some light on it. I think I found the origin of our, or the root cause of our problem. So that seal basically was riding on these grooves right here, and it was allowing oil to go through the groove, past this area here, and basically drip on the ground or get flung around. That is a problem because it's like walking under. It's like the oil can walk under a rope. You know, if the sealing surface is here, but there's a big V groove like this, then the oil can just go right underneath it. So that's what it was doing. It was going underneath the grooves.
Is that because it's the wrong fit? Put in wrong?
I don't know. Well, so what I'm thinking is, so that design of seal that's much later design. The original intent of that seal, that rope seal, was to just be sandwiched around the whole journal. And I think, I'm just guessing, but so if the crank spins this way, let's see, if it spins this way, then it's actually, I think it's pumping oil into the seal so they can lubricate. Well, if you use this style of radial seal, then it's not designed for that. So it's just it's really hard, or I should say rigid, and allows for oil actually to get pumped out. That's why it's leaking so much goddamn oil. I think, that's my theory. That's my hypothesis. So, I don't know, but regardless, you don't want to have grooves going across the face of the seal. The whole point is to have a really smooth and uninterrupted sealing surface, right? So that's the seal. It doesn't look like there's any oil intrusion into the mating surface here or here. But one telltale sign that there's an issue is if you can look here, you see how there's oil behind the seal? Mm-hmm. Right there?
Yeah.
So that right there is an indication that oil is actually getting past the lip seal, this thing here. This is supposed to be the better style seal, but apparently it's really not.
There's not supposed to be any oil on it?
No. So it doesn't look to be too much oil behind the seal on the back side of it. Maybe a little there. So it looks like the majority of it was coming from this face here. So these are the rope seals that we purchased yesterday from Husk Brothers. The store that we used to get these parts from is an OG original, like back in the day, dude gets, the catalog is like this thick.
Hardware, auto parts.
Yeah, and he looks back to the book, it's like, it's like a Bible, just a bunch of stuff in there. So the seals that we got two styles. We got Federal Mogul, or two brands.
It's upside down.
I know, but you know what it is. It's Federal Mogul. And I was looking at the paperwork. This is how you know it's legit. This for sure was not made in China. For sure. This was printed in 1980. You see the paper? This is like the Constitution right here. Doesn't it look like the Constitution?
The Constitution.
I mean, George Washington probably wrote this. I'm just saying. Dude, that's crazy. 42 years old. And this stuff doesn't go bad, obviously, because the chemicals are still good. It's still not evil. So this is supposed to go in this saddle here like this. And then you're supposed to pound it in place. And then when you're done, you're supposed to cut it with a razor blade. That's why you have the razor blades. So I'm actually going to hit it with some carpet cleaner real quick to clean it off.
Okay.
So now I need to actually find a mandrel that I can use to actually smash the seal into place, because I don't want to have any gaps in it at all.
Right.
See how that fits?
Mm-hmm.
So now what I'm going to do is take this mallet and
I mean, let no oil get through.
yep, smack it into place. So that way here. So that's kind of stuck there. Now it's going to be much harder to do the top side
Because it's in the car.
because it's in the car. That's where the trickery is going to happen. 16th thou. I'll use that. That's fine. Flop around. Route that right?
Yep.
So when you put it together, the ends will butt and won't leak. This is the difficult part. Typically, they want you to basically take the crankshaft out.
Who does?
Instructions. Santa Claus. And, but we're not trying to do all that. So, looks like I'm gonna have to drop the crankshaft a little bit further down in order to get this in.
So,
attempt to push that through. Now what we need to do is figure out a way to feed the thread through the trough. Alright, so I fished the thread through the top of the crank with this welding wire. Now I have the cotton thread. So what I'm going to try and do is
pull it, force it through.
trying to force it through.
Is it gonna budge?
I don't know. Let's see if I could squeeze it down a little bit. To get I need to drop the crank down a little bit further. That I need a little tiny little needle file, so I can kind of break that edge a little tiny bit, right where the seal goes in, so it doesn't shave the material off.
Okay.
But I'll try it again with some fishing line. See if that'll make a difference.
Okay.
I took this fishing line that we had laying around. It's the, I think, 3-pound test.
Okay.
And I used 4 strands. All right. So So it should be what, I don't know what the rating is, like 12 pounds or whatever. If it's like actually 12 pounds or that's just a. So anyway, what I did was I used this file here and put a little tiny chamfer on the entrance of the just so it wouldn't cut the rope. You see?
Okay.
So it wouldn't cut the rope on the way down, on the way up, I should say. So now, then I use a piece of welding rod to get it over the top. So now I'm gonna pull it through and try to feed it at the same time.
Slowly. Can I ask how you're gonna know that that's secure?
What do you mean?
Like how we had to do with the other one? Push it in?
Yeah. How secure? What do you mean?
You know how with the other one you had to push in?
What I'm going, so I'm gonna get both ends of it basically like proud.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna push it so it's to get the material bunched up in the corner. And then I'm going to use a mandrel, like a drift, and then tap it to kind of push it tight.
Okay.
You messed up, it broke at the last minute.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
So you really can't push it because
Low and slow, baby.
because the if you push it, it gets fatter. The diameter actually increases. So if you can't push it, you just kind of have to
Guide it.
guide it. All right, here you go.
You starting to see it?
Yeah. Actually, took some.
You probably need a little bit more, yeah.
Oh, you bastard!
That's okay. You still got the string in it. If you could just pull it just a little tiny bit more, right?
Yeah.
There you go. A little bit more. There you go. It's about good.
Yeah. That is how you put a rope seal in with the engine still installed of the car and with it together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and push the rope seal back onto itself to kind of fill that void, so that when we put the cap on it, there's no degree of freedom for the rope to actually move around. Okay. Okay. Capiche?
Capiche.